Okay, so a little bit further in my Spanish learning journey, I had another lesson today, but before I started the lesson, when I woke up this morning, I thought to myself, you know what? Um, as much as I'm sure the curriculum is fine, and if I follow the curriculum, of course, I can get to that point of being able to speak speak Spanish properly, and have that experience. At the same time, I just kind of thought about it more, and I thought, you know what, the curriculum feels all too familiar. It feels all too familiar of things that I've already done in the past, which is, following these perfect sentences in Spanish, and, just repeating and reading. Now, for the most part, when I look at a Spanish sentence, I could kind of sort of usually figure out what the sentence means. Not necessarily that I understand the language or I know exactly what that word means, but there's a lot of Spanish words that are very close to English words, or not necessarily that they're close to English words, but they're close to root words where English also came from the same root. So there's some words where it's not so much that it looks like an English word, but it probably looks like the Latin derivative, and I could sort of figure it out. I'm like, oh, like for example, the word professora. Professora, obviously sounds and looks a lot like professor, which is ultimately a teacher. So if I saw the word professora, I could pretty much assume that what they mean is teacher. Not necessarily that I know what that word means in Spanish. So doing the curriculum, I still feel like I'm sort of doing this same thing where I'm looking at a sentence, I'm kind of guessing what it means, and I'm, going by that. 9 times out of 10, I'm correct. But for the most part, I'm not actually still speaking Spanish, and nor am I getting to that point of conversation. So the curriculum, much like English curriculums, teaching you all these sort of proper sentences to be said correctly, but not getting me any closer to being able to have those conversations. So going into my lesson today, I thought, you know what? No more curriculum. I really want to focus on conversation. I really want that to be the thing that I do the most. So I spent a lot of time sort of thinking of how can I explain to my teacher in Spanish that what I want to do is work on just conversation. Now, luckily, I got this awesome tutor, because I've been trying different ones. I got this awesome tutor who opened up with basically asking me the question of whether or not do you want to continue with the lesson or did you want to have conversation, which I kind of already explained in a previous video that they all seem to ask that question. Do you want to talk or do you want to do the lesson? So when he asked me the question, I was like, yeah, no lesson. Let's have a conversation. Things started off pretty good, and I have to be completely honest here. I absolutely broke down. I don't know what happened. I even told him, I said, you know what? I honestly don't know what is happening right now, and I don't know why I'm having this reaction. But for some reason, I think maybe I set my expectations too high, or I was just so super hard on myself in order to be able to accomplish this sort of quasi English Spanish hybrid conversation, and I just completely broke down. I couldn't, it's like I couldn't even talk after that. And he obviously picked up very quickly on my very obvious frustration, my inability to say even the simplest things, and then just the complete shutdown of me. I don't know what it is. I sort of felt it coming, and I remember thinking to myself, okay, just hold it together, just hold it together, just hold it together. And I just couldn't do it. For some reason, I just completely burst out. So it was probably one of my low points in this whole process, definitely my lowest point so far. And I think it's mostly just because I'm just so hard on myself, and because I know what it is I want to achieve, and I'm still at the beginning stages, and I'm frustrated because I don't feel like I'm getting there, even though I know it's just the beginning. And it's so weird that when I'm teaching my students, or actually, sorry, when I'm tutoring my students through the platform that I use, I get a lot of them that will make mistakes. And a lot of time I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. You're good. You're good. Like, your English is better than my, whatever your language is. So, we're doing pretty good. But it's so different when you're on the other side, when you are the student and there's somebody over there that's saying, don't worry about it. Like, you're going to make mistakes. It's okay. Your Spanish is fine. You're doing good. So we ended up having a conversation pretty much mostly in English. I think he mostly did it to make me sort of get back into a comfort level, which obviously I needed at that moment. So as I told him, I'm really not sure why I had that reaction. I'm really not sure why I was so frustrated and why it sort of made me shut down completely like that. But I think I kind of needed that to happen to just make me feel like, this is what will happen. Mistakes will happen. I need to not be so hard on myself. And I need to, if I end up saying the whole sentence in English, then I say the whole sentence in English. But, trying to make those attempts of at least throwing in a Spanish word here and there so that I can try to include the language in my talking as much as possible is what needs to happen for me right now. So I think tomorrow I've actually have like 3 hours blocked off, because tomorrow will be the last day that I can really take advantage of having this much time available to me. So I have 3 hours blocked off with 3 different tutors, all of which are still all new to me. So I really want to try as many tutors as possible. So far, the tutor I had today, whose name is William, was the epitome of patient, kind, and understanding. So apart from me having my breakdown, like, there's a part of me that's kind of like, I don't want to ever see him again because he saw me at this low point. But there is still a huge part of me that's like, you know what, I still kind of want to see him again because he was so patient and he was so understanding. And I really want him to see me as I grow and to sort of remember that time to be like, hey, do you remember like a month ago when you were like completely broken down, and look at you now? So I'd really like for that to happen. And another tutor that I met, Miguel, who is also so super nice and just really sweet. So very patient and understanding as well, which I really need the patience, because for me, just my personality, I'm always super hard on myself. I'm always like looking for like almost instant results. I feel like because I've got such a strong base of vocabulary, like there should be more that I should be able to say. And I think because I get frustrated, I just sort of get in my own way. So I'm hoping that with tomorrow's 3-hour block of time that I can like really, sort of get some work done, get somewhere, and see what happens from there. But I'm still really excited about everything. And I feel good about my decision to switch from doing the curriculum to just having conversation. We could always go back to the curriculum if we need to. I think maybe after I get to a point where I'm a little more conversational, then we could like shoot back over to the curriculum and see like where those more specific things, the proper grammar and the proper way of saying things, and we can do that. But I really want to come over this hurdle of like just being able to communicate my ideas. As I tell a lot of my students when I'm tutoring them, you have the ability to have an idea in your head and vocalize that idea. That's how it starts. And it's one thing to give that advice, but it's so hard to take it. So that's what I'm sort of dealing with right now. Just having an idea in my head and being able to vocalize or communicate my idea. I know it's not going to be in the perfect way or the best way, but it will be in a way that I can get my idea across. And that's the most important part. It's not necessarily about having a conversation. It's more about communicating. And we can communicate in different ways. As we know, there's like verbal communication, there's physical communication, there's different ways. So in this case, it's just about having an idea in my head and being able to communicate that idea, even if it's not proper grammar, it's not the right words, or whatever the case may be. It's just about being able to express my idea. So I am really excited about getting to that point. I am mad nervous about it too, especially after my breakdown today. I'm hoping that I can keep it together for my next class. But yeah, I just really want to get to that conversational stage and I guess because I want it so bad, that's why I get frustrated, but we'll see what happens.